We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Biden lies about visiting Ground Zero, sanctions lifted on Iran, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lupkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Biden claimed Monday that he stood at Ground Zero in New York City on September 12, 2001, viewing the damage from the terrorist attacks, despite records showing he was in Washington, D.C. that day. Ground Zero in New York. I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because the way you could, from where you could stand, Biden said during his speech at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, marking the devastating acts of terrorism 22 years ago. However, according to C-SPAN coverage of U.S. Senate proceedings on September 12, 2001, Biden was in Washington, D.C. and gave a speech on the floor of the Senate. Records show the Senate met in the morning and a classified briefing was held for all senators that afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Records also show Biden participated in a joint resolution vote condemning the terrorist attacks later that afternoon. Biden was the Democratic manager of the resolution. According to a report by the New York Post, Biden also contradicted his own claim in his autobiography, detailing his actions after the attacks. Biden said in the book that he headed back to the Capitol on September 12th and made no mention of visiting Ground Zero that day. The report also noted a Gannett Newswire report from September 12, 2001, stating Delaware Senator Joe Biden spent Wednesday exactly where he wanted, in the U.S. Senate. The Biden administration announced on Monday, September 11th, that it has agreed to allow international banks to release $6 billion in Iranian assets to clear the way for the release of 5 American citizens detained by Tehran, the Associated Press reported Monday. The administration has also agreed under the tentative deal to free 5 Iranian citizens held in the U.S. European, Middle Eastern, and Asian banks would have faced U.S. sanctions if they transferred the Iranian funds without the waiver specified out in the agreement. Secretary of State Antony Blinken reportedly signed off on the deal last week, but Congress was only notified Monday. Republicans criticized the deal. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas called it shameful. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said Tuesday he was directing 3 House committees to open an impeachment inquiry targeting President Biden. The move will give the panels authority to seek bank records and other documents related to Biden and his son Hunter. McCarthy stated that it is the logical next step after House Republicans uncovered serious and credible allegations into President Biden's conduct, including possible abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption. The inquiry is not a call for impeachment, but part of the process that gives congressional investigators greater access to information. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met Wednesday with Russian President Vladimir Putin at a spaceport in eastern Russia during a rare international trip for the reclusive Kim. Putin said his North Korean counterpart was showing great interest in rocket technology and hinted Russia could help North Korea develop satellites. The two leaders are expected to discuss Putin's request for North Korea to sell Russia arms for its invasion in Ukraine. Kim offered Putin full and unconditional support for Russia's sacred fight to defend its security interest, an apparent reference to the war. Kim said his unusual trip abroad showed the strategic importance of his country's relationship with Moscow. North Korea's KCNA state media reported it on Wednesday. A Food and Drug Administration advisory panel voted unanimously on Tuesday to declare a common ingredient in over-the-counter decongestants to be ineffective. The FDA is now expected to decide whether to order the removal from store shelves of cold medicines that contain the ingredient phenylephrine. A trade group said a move like that could make popular over-the-counter products, including Tylenol, Mucinex, and Benadryl cold and flu remedies, unavailable until their manufacturers can come up with new formulas, the New York Times reported. FDA officials typically follow their advisors' recommendations, although a decision may still be months away. Phenylephrine is used in decongestants because the FDA had decided that medications using the more effective pseudoephedrine had to be moved behind the pharmacist counter because it is an ingredient in the manufacture of crystal meth, and government authorities were having difficulty reining in the manufacture. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.